Could Aaron Ramsdale be sold to a direct rival? Meanwhile, Chelsea lose the League Cup final in the most embarrassing fashion possible. And yet another goal for an Arsenal striker that is starting to raise some rather important questions. This is the Arsenal News Show. Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys and girls for another episode of what is the it's the Arsenal News Show. I've already told you that's what it is. It's what it is most mornings now, of course. And thank you so much, as always, for joining and tuning in. I hope you're doing good. I hope you're doing well. This morning, I decided to try on. It's a new purchase. I can't show you because it's like they're trousers, right? So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be that guy, sticks his leg in the air. But it's the, you may have seen me wearing the Arsenal jumper, which is like the blue jumper with the yellow Adidas accents. Now I've got the tracksuit bottoms as well. They're quite nice. The only issue I've got, right, so Adidas, if you're listening, they're a different material to the jumper. Now, I could be wearing the jumper, but it's in the wash at the moment because I love that jumper and I wear it all the time. But I thought I'll chuck those on. But there's a different feel. I don't know what it is. There's a different feel to it. So I don't know why that decision's been made. I thought I was buying like the normal tracksuit bottom feel, but it's not. They're still nice, but why would you not make them the same? Why? Anyway, but they're in the wash. So I'm wearing the Real Oviedo Santi Cazorla shirt. So for those that are asking, Tom, why has Tom not got a different football team shirt on? That's why. It's a Santi Cazorla shirt, all right? So it's still Arsenal in my mind anyway. Thank you so much. Yes, Amesy, I'm not sitting here just in my boxer shorts. No, that would be very inappropriate. But thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in and joining me. Very much appreciate your time, as always. Do drop a like on the video. Help us to 1K every day. Yesterday, we reached 1,500 likes on our reaction video. And thank you to those that tuned in. I was so tired in yesterday's show. I still went on for over an hour. That's just how passionate I was talking about the game against Newcastle. It was a brilliant fixture, a brilliant game, lots to talk about, and that's why we did talk about it in so much detail. But yeah, it was a great day and a great game, and I'm glad we spent as much time as we did. But good morning to those that have joined us live. Good morning to Rich, to Blackshine, to Vala, to Glenn, to Paul. Good morning to Damien, Babatunde, and Darren, and Matt G, and Martin, Sweat and Merlo, Olawale, Amira, Matt G, Maximius, Arasilki, Damien, Thierry, Dominic, Clincy, Barry T, Shiv, Paul, Answer, Stevie and Stephen and Paul and Brad and Rob and plenty more of you guys and girls. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bradley says he's tuning in live for the first time. Usually listens on Spotify. Fantastic. Isabel, morning. First time joining a live, but been listening on Apple Podcasts for the last few months. Thank you, Isabel. Welcome to the YouTube crew. If you are listening on Catch Up or on audio platforms, hop over to YouTube. Make sure you give us a like. Make sure you support the challenge of getting 1K every single day. Right, shall we get on with today's stories? I think we should. Yesterday was the last of the weekend's Premier League action. There is a game tonight between, we've got West Ham taking on Brentford, I believe. And last night, or yesterday afternoon, early in the afternoon, we saw a sole goal from Pablo Sarabia elevate Wolves into as high as 8th position in the league with a 1-0 win over Sheffield United, who are they're in a lot of trouble. It's probably fair to say they are in a lot of trouble right now. Sheffield United sitting bottom of the table, 13 points accumulated. They are 8 points off 17th placed Everton. That said, both Everton and Nottingham Forest, of course, still awaiting punishment of their most recent charges of allegedly breaching profit and sustainability regulations. So ones to keep an eye out for. But Wolves and Gary O'Neill, I remember saying when he took over at Wolves that it was a really solid appointment. He was incredibly hard done by when he was sacked at Bournemouth. Well, not even sacked, but kind of just not given the chance. I just think that he's moved now, Gary O'Neill, into a position where he's been given so much trust. Wolves always had this kind of feeling that they wanted to go and grab like a favourable coach. What I mean by that is somebody with kind of that feel of experience because of Julian Lopetegui or as Nuno Espirito Santo or as someone else who slipped my mind. I'm sure there was somebody else in between those two as well that just wasn't able to do the business for Wolves. But now what we've seen is an English manager coming in, Gary O'Neill, not loads of experience, young coach, and he's doing fantastic things with them. Brilliant things with them. And you got to give credit. He's probably behind Arteta, my second favourite manager in the league. At the moment, he's doing an amazing job. And so congrats to him. They've got Newcastle away next. So that's going to be a big test for them. It means the Premier League table, of course, West Ham still have to play. They would return to 8th in the table if they were to beat Brentford. Brentford, meanwhile, down in 15th. They could really do with a win. They're only 5 points off 18th placed Luton in the table at the moment as well. And Sheffield United have got Arsenal next, of course, at the what's the Sheffield United ground called? Why am I forgetting what it's called? That's awful. Someone remind me in the chat box. It's one of those classic names for like a stadium named by a road. I can't remember what it is. Someone will tell me in the chat. That's really bad. Anyway, moving forwards. And Chelsea, Bramall Lane. Thank you. Yes, I thought it was named after a road. Bramall Lane. Thank you. Is a lane a road? Should we put a poll into the chat box? Is a lane a road? Probably not, to be fair. It's probably a pathway more than a road, to be fair. Anyway, Chelsea lost the League Cup final in the most embarrassing way possible. Gary Neville, who I rarely like to quote on the channel, came up with the tagline of the blue £1 billion bottle jobs, is what he described Maurizio Pochettino's team as. Now, for me, one of the most embarrassing final defeats, sadly, for me, is an Arsenal one. It is the Europa League final in 2019, which Unai Emery, for my money, embarrassed Arsenal with the performance that we were gifted against Chelsea. And I'm so glad that finally there is a final in my memory that sticks in my mind, even as more embarrassing than that final defeat against Chelsea, ironically, in the Europa League. And to lose not only to a Liverpool team which is missing so many players, no Nunez, no Trent, no Salah. I'm sure there's others that I'm forgetting as well. No Thiago. I think they were missing another. Matip's not there, of course. Alisson's not there. That was missing so many players. Not only that, but bringing in some of the kids who, I'll be very honest, and I like to think that my footballing knowledge is pretty good. I'd not heard of some of these players that came in. Dan's, I've not heard of him before. Very much Jota, not there, of course, either. Chelsea, meanwhile, Chelsea's team, which, of course, if you were to add up the how much they cost and how much that squad costs, both the team that started and, of course, the bench as well. I mean, you've got Gusto, that's like 20 plus million. Disassi, that's like, I think, 30 million, maybe more. Colwill came through the academy, of course. Chilwell was like 50 million pounds. Moises Caicedo was like 115 million. Enzo Fernandez, 110 odd million quid. Sterling, several tens of millions. Gallagher, of course, came through the academy. Palmer, 40 something million quid. Nico Jackson, about 30 million pounds. Mudryk on the bench came on 80 odd million quid. Noni Madueke, another 30 odd million quid. Christopher Nkunku, over 50 to 60 million pounds. Incredible. And Chelsea and Liverpool, bring on Joe Gomez, who they signed, I don't think for too much, from Charlton back in the day. Konstantinos Tsimikas, again, signed for very little for Olympiacos. Bobby Clark, James McConnell, Jayden Danns, Quansah. That's 4 academy graduates coming off the bench. They started with Harvey Elliott and Connor Bradley on the right-hand side as well. It is props to Jurgen Klopp, first of all, and we should give credit to Jurgen Klopp. Of all the managers around, of our rivals and that, and I'm not a big fan of Liverpool at all. I can't stand some of the views of the supporters of Liverpool Football Club, and my editor is one. So we get into a fair number of debates about Arsenal and Liverpool. But Jurgen Klopp is a very likable person from my perspective, having briefly spoken with him as well. Like, he is an absolute gent the majority of the time. I know that he rubs some people up the wrong way with some of his quotes. I understand that for sure. But of the two teams, and I didn't want either to win. You know, I think I saw a fantastic tweet of someone holding up the placard like, I want both teams to lose. It's very much, you go into the game, you want both teams to lose. It's not possible. And if there is a team that I'd rather lose this game, it is Chelsea. It is Chelsea by a long, long way. And I think that for me, from an Arsenal perspective, Chelsea stand as a what not to do a what could have been in some ways, a what some fans wanted. Yes, they've got two Champions League titles. They've got a number of Premier League titles that have come from spending silly amounts of money under Roman Abramovich previously with some very good coaches, of course, and they've won those trophies and they earned those trophies through the means in which they did that. However, they wanted to embark on a project under Todd Bowley. They wanted to invest very quickly and very intensely in a project under initially, of course, Graham Potter after they sacked Thomas Tuchel. And after that project wasn't given time, they wanted to invest into another project with Mauricio Pochettino. They have spent money not through planning, not through considered investment, not through the eyes of a manager that can really have a key hand in what players are signed. And you look at the difference between that project and what Arsenal have done and how Arsenal have progressed. And yes, how Arsenal struggled. But the thing about Arsenal's struggle at the start of Mikel Arteta's reign is that you could see the building blocks. You could see what was being built initially to set us on a path to where we are now. Chelsea is fractured. There's no principles. There's no identity. There's constant infighting, which you still get at Arsenal, to be fair, to some degree, but a very small, tiny, very loud, but horrific minority. But ultimately, that, I think, Chelsea project stands for me as the what could have been and what some fans, I think, ultimately, rather misguidedly, would have had at Arsenal. It is not about how much you spend. It is about how you spend it. And Arsenal, when you look at the comparison to Chelsea of what Arsenal have spent, and Arsenal, I tell you what, have completely illegitimized Chelsea spending, not only by the players that Arsenal have brought in, but by the players that Arsenal have recently taken from Chelsea. Kai Havertz, the jury for sure is still out on the whole. But there's no doubt in my mind that besides Cole Palmer and Conor Gallagher, Kai Havertz has had a better season than the majority of Chelsea's players. I mean, he's still scored plenty more than Gallagher, but Gallagher plays deeper, of course, and Palmer's been a very good signing for them, but one of very few good signings for them. He's been better than Christopher Nkunku. And I know Nkunku's been injured. I get that. But even upon his return, has not looked particularly great. But he does deserve time. For me, I think he's been better than Raheem Sterling this season. Kai Havertz. I think he's been better than Noni Madueke. I think he's better than Mykhailo Mudryk, without a doubt. I think he's better than Nicholas Jackson, without a doubt. And then Jorginho. I mean, goodness me, that Chelsea midfield of Moises Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez, they lack a Jorginho. They are so awful without that experience, without that leadership. And the fact that they replaced their whole midfield for three young players, Gallagher standing out amongst them, and letting Jorginho leave to a team that needed a Jorginho in Arsenal has looked horrific. And Mauricio Pochettino, I think he's a good coach that is just that's been dropped into an absolute chasm of pain and torture in footballing terms and was never, ever going to succeed. But there is something quite Spursy about him, which I think is coming through, as there is at Bayern Munich with Harry Kane as well. Anyway, moving from kind of one end of the spectrum to the other, I just want to share this photo with you. If you're listening on audio platforms, you might want to hop over to YouTube and fast forward to 13 minutes and 40 seconds in. This picture came up on my timeline yesterday of Mikel Arteta celebrating after the Newcastle game. They did a few of these photos of players and the manager walking down the tunnel. I love this picture. This picture for me is like, because Mikel Arteta is such like a, you think of him as like, he's a no-nonsense guy. He's cold sometimes. He's like, sometimes like getting blood from a stone when you're questioning him. And he's such a cold person at times to have a conversation with. But when the game's on and when he's managing and probably within those inner circles, he's completely different. And I think that when it comes to when it comes to this emotion from Arteta, it's just, yeah, I love this from Mikey, freedom and joy. It's like all of the facade, the professional facade in some ways, not facade, that's probably the wrong word. The professional shell that he sometimes adorns is just removed by his happiness there. And it's not news. I just wanted to share that photo because I think it's absolutely fantastic. I love it. And I had to share it with those that hadn't yet seen it. Now, the couple's last story, actually, I think, discuss before we go to two stories we've got to discuss before we go to your questions in part 2 for a slightly extended part 1. Actually, I spent a lot of time on that Chelsea result and I wanted to. Mika Biereth scored yet again for Sturm Graz, which has taken a tally, I think, up to 4, including a goal in a friendly game. But Sturm Graz winning against WSG Tirol in Austrian's Bundesliga. They're currently second in the table behind Red Bull Salzburg just by 2 points. Salzburg they drew against, and he actually played in that game a couple of weeks ago. And of course, he scored in the UEFA Conference League game I think it's Slavia Bratislava, I think was who the team they played. But he's been very, very good since joining them. He's been very, very impressive. Slovan Bratislava, it was indeed that he scored against. And he just can't stop scoring now. I think there's a question that if he continues upon this form, that he will return in the summer. And I think needs to be looked at being used in some friendly games and just given that opportunity. The striker market is what it is at the moment. It's not great. And I don't think there's necessarily a clear, and I said this during the live event, I said in the summer of 2023, we knew the centre midfielder we wanted was Declan Rice. It was always Declan Rice. It always looked to be Declan Rice, and we were willing to spend 100 million on Declan Rice. This summer, we want a centre forward. But there is not that Declan Rice-esque obvious candidate that we want to go for in the summer. And so I always said that I think that there are other positions that we need to strengthen in. And I think there are more obvious candidates like a Pedro Neto or Nico Williams for the midfield positions, like a Martin Zubimendi for the defensive midfielder position, and a Yorval Hato player type person, maybe in the defense. And I think that because there's more obvious candidates there, just if it continues, and we're gonna continue to monitor this. And I'm not saying that Mika Biereth is going to make it at Arsenal yet. I've been very cautious of saying that. But it's going very well in a decent league, an Austrian league. For a lot of people, they don't particularly rate it, but for Sturm Graz in the Austrian league, what he's doing is very good. Salzburg dominate things, have always dominated things, and they are keeping on the coattails of Salzburg. And I'll be intrigued to see if he gets an international call up for Denmark at senior level. Be very interested to see if he can do that, because it'd be great to see. And I personally think that Mika Biereth is becoming a really, really key player for them. And, who wants to rule it out? Who wants to rule out the potential of Mika Biereth getting an opportunity at a senior level? I don't want to rule it out entirely. I think it's very, very unlikely, but I don't want to rule it out. And we will keep you updated with how Mika Biereth is getting on. In fact, I might be doing a dedicated piece on him for FL in the coming week or two. Our last piece does actually return to Chelsea just before we go to part 2. And that is according to Fabrizio Romano that Chelsea are said to be keen on potentially signing Aaron Ramsdale. And there's suggestions that he might be open to it, which don't surprise me at all. He's not playing for Arsenal. He wants to stay at a good level. Now, I'm not sure if Chelsea are going to be of a good level, but I'm sure that he would back himself to continue starting for them. I don't think it's a smart one for Aaron to make. I just don't think Chelsea are a club where players should be looking at as a smart place to go to. I'd only be open to the sale from a selfish Arsenal perspective if they paid a very high fee for Aaron Ramsdale. They would need to pay, for me, upwards of £50 million to get hold of Aaron Ramsdale. Other clubs might have to pay 40, but for me, Chelsea would have to pay £50 million at least to get their hands on Aaron Ramsdale, and I'd rather he moved to a different team. I think Bayern Munich are a side that you should probably keep your eyes close to with Aaron Ramsdale as well. But there are, yes, a number of teams I think that I'd rather see Aaron Ramsdale move to compared to Chelsea. So that's the one. But there's said to be suggestions he would be open to a move to a top club, and that's certainly the feel that we've had from him. I reported back at the end of last year that there had been suggestions that a move to a team further down the Premier League table had already been rejected. So yeah, let's see what happens with Ramsdale in the summer. Arsenal, though, as they're maintained to be, still keen on keeping him, but I don't think that is realistic. But time seems to be running out for Aaron Ramsdale at Arsenal. And time continues to run out for you to get your hands, of course, on the last remaining tickets for the Arsene Wenger 49 unbeaten signed shirt. This amazing prize. There's only around 10 tickets left of this competition and a couple of days left for you to get involved with it. 14 tickets to my reading of the website remain. Link down in the description if you want to get involved to potentially win this signed and framed Arsene Wenger 14 unbeaten inspired Arsenal shirt. Link down below, and UK only as always for those that would like to get involved. Okay, let's go to part 2 and your questions right after this. Okay, we'll be jumping into the chat box very shortly. I'm just checking if there's nothing that's dropped or broken whilst we were live, because sometimes on a Monday morning, what you happen is that sometimes things happen. So yeah, I was just checking, and it doesn't look like it at the moment. So no, there you go. Nothing's changed. Okay, let's jump into the chat. Paul says, if Ramsdale is open to moving to a top club, why is he considering Chelsea? It's a very, very fair question. Daniel says, I hope Ramsdale goes abroad, but I can't see it. I think his partner recently gave birth to their first child, so he is probably keen to stay in England to be near family. They did indeed. And yes, I've actually seen the little one as he's rolled the stroller through the mix zone at times. So yeah, big congratulations to the Ramsdales once again. Matt G says, is Ødegaard playing a new role, or has he just improved as a player? I think that Ødegaard for me is definitely improved in a new role. So it's actually I think a little bit of both. I think that last season, of course, his goal scoring record was unbelievable. I mean, he equaled the record, as we know, for the highest number of goals scored by a Premier League player from a Premier League midfielder from open play, with 15, matching Kevin De Bruyne's record. And he has been just so important to what we've done. But he is playing slightly deeper. He is playing slightly further into the midfield, as we've been using the likes of Havertz or Trossard or other players in that midfield position. And that has obviously changed things for us. He played back more of his more advanced role when he played against Newcastle, because Declan Rice, of course, was playing in midfield instead of Kai Havertz, and that changed things. But I think he just is continuing to improve as a player. But he's been absolutely fantastic. Pablo says, what's your thoughts on my local club's logo, San Antonio FC? We have a lot of Gooners here. San Antonio FC. I'm scared now. What is the logo going to be? It's actually it's very nice. Black badge with the kind of it looks like a classic cartoon bang thing on the right-hand side, if you like. With the red, silver, and white stripes. Quite like that. It's very nice. I do like it. Is there some kind of untold story behind that's dodgy? I don't know why someone would ask me, Pablo. John says, is Okonkwo ready to be the number 2, or is his style not conducive to our style anymore? He's currently playing in League 2 with Wrexham. To my understanding, there is no plans from the Arsenal side of things to renew his contract. It runs out at the end of this season, and he will be leaving on a free. So there you go. Pablo says it's a boot spur. Oh yes, the things that are on the end of the cowboy boots. That's what it is. It does look like a cartoon, like explosion type thing, doesn't it? But yes, now you say that, I know exactly what it is. Henkaho says, with the limitations at Barca this summer in terms of spending, how much are you willing to pay for a player like Frenkie de Jong? You could go hardball on them because they need the money. I think that Frenkie de Jong, I mean, let's have a quick look at his profile, shall we? Because that sometimes helps us to understand what we can expect from a player like Frenkie de Jong. He is 26 years of age, which is a fantastic age, and usually an age bracket in which you're going to get a very high fee. His contract situation it runs out in 2026, so he's still got 2 years left on his current deal. His injury record, quick check on that, isn't the best. In 23-24, he missed 11 games, one because of an ankle injury. In 22-23, he missed 9 games. In 21-22, he missed 5 games. That's not too bad. Muscle injury in 2021, missed 7 games. And of course, he had that ligament tear in 2017-18, missed 13 games in the summer and 126 days with Ajax as well. And he had a hairline fracture in his fibula as well in the 2017-18 season. Oh, it's the same injury. Okay. So both of those things, unless it was a correction. But his injury record's not too bad, to be fair. I don't think it's anything to write home about or to dissuade somebody from taking him. I think he'd be an excellent piece of business for Arsenal to acquire in Frenkie de Jong. Had great experience. I think he's a fantastic, gifted technical player. I think that he could suit the midfield role as well. But then you've got a decision, I think, with other positions. Like if you sign Frenkie de Jong, are we going to sign another DM? Because then you'd have Rice and you'd have Partey maybe still here, unless he goes. You'd still have, unless Jorginho goes. If Jorginho and Partey go and you replace them with Zubamendi and de Jong, it's probably pretty good. It's a really good, I think, replacement of those two, to be fair. So it's not too bad. And I think that certainly that is very, very interesting in terms of a profile. But there'll be a lot of competition if he is to leave Barcelona in the summer. How much was the question? Ooh, I still think upwards of 60 million is what people are going to have to pay to get Frenkie de Jong, maybe more. John says, Tom, aside from injury, why wasn't Tierney's inability to play inverted compensated for like how Kivior has been accommodated? Is that Mikel learning to be more flexible? I think that it is, John. I actually said about this in an article I wrote about Ben White's positioning and what it would have meant for Tierney. That said, I still think that maybe Kivior suits the centre half at fullback type player that Arteta clearly likes. Kivior's been great. Let's just be honest. Like, there's been so many people that wanted to put Kivior down or put the club down for the way in which they've talked about Jakub Kivior. I think Jakub Kivior has been fantastic. I think he's been fantastic. So yeah, I can't be, and I'm not at all disappointed by what's happened or by Tierney not being moved in. But I think there's a question there, John, and I think you're absolutely fair to ask that. Let's go to David, who says there wants to be many clubs paying what we wanted for Ramsdale. I'm doubtful if Bayern have that sort of money. Don't be doubtful. They certainly do, mate. Thierry says, if we get an Osimhen, I really would love to keep Jesus as a competitor for the other wide positions, since he's so versatile and has played there before. Is it something you think Arteta would be thinking? Yes, I do. I think that Jesus could provide plenty of depth in those wide areas as well. Derek Wainford says, just found your channel yesterday, and I'm loving the content. Been a Gooner since 1978, so seen the good and the bad, and this team is as entertaining as the Invincibles. Well, there you go. From a very experienced Arsenal fan there, and Derek saying there's definitely comparisons in entertainment value, at least, between this team and the Invincibles. And Derek, welcome, first of all, to the channel. I think it's great, isn't it? We've been doing this channel since 2016 and still getting messages of people finding it for the first time, which is wonderful. I love it. It's funny. I went into, I don't think they'll mind me saying this. I went into the Arsenal when I was in the media lounge, and went up to collect my program as I do, and the woman behind the desk said that she enjoyed the channel. So if you're watching, hello. But that was quite a nice moment. So yeah, it's great to see and hear when people enjoy the work on the channel. Nathan says, honestly, I don't like Chelsea, but the fact that Liverpool could now have more than one trophy at the end of the season infuriates me. Yeah, we didn't have much choice. Would you rather we finished like the season and, we've only got the Champions League and the Premier League left, and the reality is that we're not favourites for either of those two, and we end the season with less trophies than Chelsea? I wouldn't swap it with Chelsea, but I would not like that conversation. I really wouldn't like that conversation. We had that conversation with Manchester United last season, and I wouldn't have swapped my season with theirs. So yeah, I really would have rather Liverpool won that trophy. It's Jurgen Klopp. He's a serial winner with them. He wins plenty of trophies with them, and that's what Arsenal, as we talked about at the end of yesterday's show, need to be aspiring to emulate under Arteta. Daniel says, so happy to see Jakub Kivior score on Saturday because we know he's a baller and he's proving it this month. Maximius says, lost the question. There it is. Tom, if you had to pick any negatives from our match against Newcastle, what would it be? Room for improvement. Well, I always, after every single game, one of the tasks post-match for the morning lines on football.london is I have to write what we used to call winners and losers. We now call it successes and frustrations. So, because losers, when you've won like 6-0, having 3 losers is not like that easy, and I don't think it's the best way to put it. So I've rebranded winners and losers to successes and frustrations, and I think that's it. So my frustrations, I'll tell you what they are. You can read them in detail on the football.london website. I'll leave a link to that piece in the chat box for you if you'd like to read it, if my YouTube will load. But yes, every single game, my morning job is to write 3 what used to be winners and losers, now is successes and frustrations. But here they are. My successes were Kai Havertz scores again, stepping up, and that's about Jorginho, and mentality monsters, which is about the misconceptions that was kind of spoken about on Wednesday about Arsenal lacking the mentality to win in Porto. I think that it's been way overblown for me personally, the whole mentality question. And I think they showed that by how they responded against Newcastle on Saturday. The frustrations for me was there's always one, which talks about how, I don't know what it is, but somehow Arsenal, I watched Bournemouth against Man City before that game. And I watched Bournemouth pepper and pepper and pepper the Man City box and never come close by that Enes Unal's header to scoring. And yet somehow Arsenal play teams. They'll get one good opportunity and they'll score. And I don't get it. It's so frustrating. And it happens a lot that teams we play against that might beat us, like the West Ham home game, for instance, they'll get one or two chances and they score. And whenever we have a big opportunity against us, at the moment, they seem to go in, and not even big opportunities sometimes. Like the Porto game was a goal out of nothing. There's another example. And I know they missed that Galeno opportunity earlier in the game, but that's a frustration for me at the moment, is that we always seem to just concede these silly one-off goals out of nothing, and somehow it happens more often than I think it should. The other frustration was, what, Monday, as in we've got to wait all the way till a week today to play our next game. And I think that maybe there's something about, the momentum, and it would have been great to go into another game very soon on Saturday or even in midweek, and we've got to wait all the way through till Monday. But we are, of course, going to be playing last once again. There's going to be FA Cup fixtures this week as well, taking up more of the energy of certain, hopefully, tighter rivals of ours. And then the last one was, I wish it meant more, which is about how both Liverpool and Manchester City won their games. And, of course, this game and this win was really only just to keep pace with the title challengers. So I wish there was more to come from that. If you want to read that in more detail. But in terms of improvement, obviously, we still look at sometimes at finishing. There was chances in that game. Havertz, of course, had a big one. There were other opportunities we had. It's still, I think, a little bit on finishing, even though we scored 25 goals in 6 games. I think we can score more, which is crazy. I think we can score more, and I think that's the excitement about this. The excitement about this team is that I think there's still actually better to come, and that's scary if you're someone else. Really, really is scary. So I look forward to that. Trevor says, if people had seen Kivior in the World Cup, they would have had a different option over clubs were interested in him after those performances. That's a very fair point, Trevor. Oki says, we get too comfortable in possession and lose focus defensively. It's happened numerous times. Tom, you're spot on about the goal point that I raised. John says, who is your shortlist for the manager after Arteta? I'm thinking 3 or 5 years down the line. I don't know, mate. Honestly, you'd have to ask me then. It's impossible to know who's going to have the highest stock at that point. I mean, Xabi Alonso's going very well, but who knows what it's going to be in 3 to 5 years' time. Ajmal says, how many goals and assists do you think Saka could end up with come the end of the season? That's a great question. I mean, what would basically 2/3 of the way through the season at this point, and he's got something like, how many is it in total? Is it 18 goals? No, I don't want to have an advert for car insurance. Can I just click on the thank you? 13 goals in the Premier League, 8 assists. That's not right. On Transfermarkt, for some reason, it's saying he's played 68 games, got 32 goals and 26 assists. That is definitely not right. I don't know what's happened to the Transfermarkt website. He's got 16 goals and 13 assists this season. So I would challenge him to try and get above 20 in both. That would be my challenge. I think I said that at the start of the season. I think I said something like he needs to break 20 and 20. I'm sure I said something along those lines in the summer, that I wanted to see Saka break 20 and 20. So, yeah, I think that should be the aim, 20 and 20. He needs 4 more goals and he needs 7 more assists. And I think that's really possible, actually. I don't think that's crazy at all to get 4 more goals and 7 more assists between now and the end of the season. I think that's excellent as a target. Anasimo says, hey, Tom, update on the likelihood of the centre forwards we're linked with so that we could possibly sign. Like, who is the most likely now and what percentage chance would you give each one of happening? Yes, I will consult my crystal ball of striker transfer percentages. I mean, the likelihood of Tony, I think, has dropped. I said that a couple of weeks ago, and then a few days after I said that, Team News and Ticks, they're very well connected, Team News and Ticks, also tweeted saying that they think that things had changed in the Tony thing. So I was quite happy that what certainly I was made aware of, it seems to be also corroborated by other well-connected people, and that the Tony thing I think has dropped. So I'd give that probably in the 20 and below percentages, if that. Osimhen, again, I don't see Arsenal paying the buyout clause for Osimhen. Did anyone see his miss at the weekends? The double post hit? It was quite incredible. I saw a video going around. I think that was from last weekend or this weekend, just gone. Give that like a 10%, if that. Other strikers that we're linked to, Gyökeres, not really been linked with him too much, so less than 5%. There's not too many that I'd say that, we are really looking at signing right now. As I've said to people, ask me in the summer. I think the club will. I think the club will be looking at that. I think the club will be monitoring lots of different players in different positions. They might not even be looking at a centre forward because we're scoring a lot of goals. So yeah, I don't think the desperation for a striker, considering the market right now, is as grave as it was 6 months ago. I think that's probably a fair way to put it. But I would like us to see us upgrade on Nketiah. I would like to see us do that, but it doesn't mean that we will. I'd like us to bring in another wide player. I'd like us to bring in another midfielder or two, depending on what happens with the existing players. And I'd like us to bring in another midfielder. The club are going to sign players in the summer. That it is going to happen. We are going to strengthen. And the plan is to do that. So I'm excited to see and cover this summer and how it goes. Oki says, with Klopp leaving, there is potential for some players to want to leave as well. Is there an opportunity to pinch a current Liverpool player, and who would you take? I wouldn't mind getting Endo. No, I don't think that's smart, really. I think his age profile is not great. He's, if not already 30, and he's signed a multi-year contract with Liverpool. So I don't think that would happen. He's a good player, though. Klopp leaving, how much will that impact players leaving? I don't think it's going to impact too much. I don't think that it's going to be opening the doors for anyone to move to Arsenal. To be honest, I'd be very surprised if that was the case. Very surprised indeed. We don't tend to do business with Liverpool. They don't tend to do business with us. So it's very rare that we do business between each other. You look at the record that Arsenal and Chelsea have got of doing bit deals, but Arsenal and Liverpool and Manchester United rarely do business with one another. It's very rare indeed. There's kind of an off-field rivalry in the market, even between those clubs. Anna Simon says, I agree. It's hard to make the right call now regarding who could come in after Arteta. It's why I'm excited to see it and why I asked. I'm glad to see your crystal ball is logical as always and doesn't all actually function in telling the future. No, it's impossible to tell the future, but we can sometimes make some decent, educated guesses about what might happen. If you haven't already dropped a press on that like button, people, by the way, please do. I forgot to mention it again in the second part, the start of the second half of the show. So there's over 900 of you watching, which for a Monday morning is incredibly humbling. Thank you. So please do drop a like on the video and subscribe if you are new, as we try to reach our target by the end of the year of the Emirates Stadium capacity, which is a hell of a target of trying to hit 60,000. But who knows? We will wait and see. Pablo says, me and my little brother are bitter rivals. He's a Liverpool fan, and we're so excited to see them come to the States and play together against each other. I hope that it's another 6-goal thriller. It's going to be exciting. I'm really looking forward to that one. Martin says, Salah could well move in the summer. 1 year left on his deal. Not for us, but probably Saudi. Yeah. I think that is certainly something that we could see happen in the summer. Is Salah moving on, maybe to, as you say, Saudi Arabia, and getting Liverpool a lot of money? I think if Liverpool are offered like 200 million, they should absolutely take it, because that is just an amount of money. With Salah with 1 year left on his deal, is 200 million or 1 year of Salah worth it? I think Spurs made the right choice in the end of probably selling Harry Kane. I say that. Do I think that? No, I don't, actually. I'm not going to change my mind on that yet. I don't think Spurs made the right choice in selling Harry Kane. I think that Spurs, the best chance they ever had of winning a trophy was by Harry Kane staying, even for his last season. And yes, they might not have been able to sign Dragusin and Werner. And I mean, have they really spent that money that wisely? Have they? I don't know. I think that they had a Doji coming in. I think they had James Maddison coming in anyway. Imagine Maddison serving Kane. I think they might have done far better this season, even if it was just for one season. So actually, no, I'm not changing my mind yet on the Kane thing. I think that they were wrong to sell him. Derek says, Tom, did you see the Edu interview? Also, Tony was in a box, and are Sheffield United about to face a full squad? Interesting that Tony was in a box. I mean, he used to play for Newcastle, so there's links there. Maybe that's one of the reasons why. But obviously, he's been twerking for a move for a long time. Is that the phrase the kids use these days? Twerking for a move? I think I've seen people use that phrase. But when it comes to Tony to Arsenal, I don't think so. I don't think it is. I don't think it's a thing. It's really quietened down recently on the Tony thing, even though he was there. And on the other thing, that the Edu interview, I thought was very good. I think it was very interesting, especially when he talked about the potential to sign a centre forward. But yeah, I don't think that Arsenal necessarily at the moment, at least, are going to be signing £100 million striker. But who knows? I could be wrong. I just don't think the options are out there. I'd sign Gyökeres personally at this moment in time, but I don't see him as a clear link right now. Sir Nicholas says, I already told everyone Arteta will leave in 2045 after he's won the league over a dozen times. Come on, guys. I've seen the future. Don't doubt me. Another Arsene Wenger-esque length era at Arsenal, maybe we're expecting, if Sir Nicholas is right. Mikey says, well, now you're using it, Tom. That phrase. It seems I am. Rob says, rewatch the Newcastle game. What do you think of Benny Blanco and Declan Rice being in centre-forward positions for 2 non-set-piece goals? I can't imagine Zinni getting into the box. That's not Zinni's style. He likes to hang around the outside of the box, to be fair. Ben White does get inside the box sometimes. And Declan Rice, of course, that strike he had that was comfortably saved in the end by Karius. I think Rice enjoys playing that role. I think he really enjoys getting further up the field. I think he enjoys getting into those positions. I think that he enjoys being a player that can influence the game in the final third. He didn't want to celebrate his goal against West Ham, but my goodness me, I know that he would have enjoyed that strike hitting the back of the net. Daniel says, who do you think drops points first between the top 3? Well, I think Liverpool and Man City, because they play each other in I think 2 game weeks time. They play each other on the 10th. Is it the 10th of March? Yes, 10th of March they play each other. We play Brentford at home that weekend on the day before. Arsenal could be top of the league on the 10th of March. I mean, just let me check the table, check that's 100% right. So Liverpool play Forest away next, which is not an easy game, as we all well know. Not an easy game. Manchester City play Manchester United, which is an easy game, next week, and we are away at Sheffield United. If all 3 of those teams win those games, so if they all win those games, and let's say the goal difference doesn't really change, because Arsenal are currently 1 goal difference ahead of Liverpool. If Liverpool and Man City draw their game, and it was to end 1-1, 2-2, 0-0, whatever. If they draw their game playing each other, I don't think they will. I think Man City will win, personally. And then Arsenal beat Brentford, and they both draw. We are top at that point. And that's an exciting reality. But we have to win against Sheffield United first, and then we have to beat Brentford. Win our next 2 games, and we will be above one of the other 2. Come the end of that week. That is the reality that we're in right now, is that if we win our next 2 games, we will be at least second come the end of the next weekend after Sheffield United. So that's the prize. If Arsenal win the next 2 games, they will be at least certainly second for the end of that weekend, ahead of going into the Porto game, which would be nice, wouldn't it? Great to build that momentum going into those games. Vidal says, Tom, who do you think will replace Partey? I think Zubimendi looks like the most likely candidate at the moment, but things can change. Bakary Lasagna says, Tom, I'm down with the kids Canton. That's the new name. Daniel's, we've done that one already. Aaron says, do you think RB are now RB now inverting? Is that meant to be Ben White now inverting? Oh, right back. Oh my goodness me, how detached am I? The right back now inverting means we'll try to sign another right back for Ben White, even though he's doing a good job. No, because I think we have Yuri and Timber, Aaron. And I think Yuri and Timber will be absolutely glorious in that inverted right back role. I think he'll be fantastic at that. So no, I don't think we'll try and sign another right back. We might sign another right-sided defender that's a centre back, but I don't think we'll sign another right back. I could be wrong. But I think Timber and White and Tomiyasu is plenty of depth once Tomiyasu and Timber obviously are back fit. But there you go. Anyway, we're going to end the show there. I've been going for nearly 45 minutes. Went for over an hour yesterday. So I've got to have some rain on the shows. But thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. I hope you have a fantastic week and everything in the world goes your way. And I'll be rejoining you tomorrow. We'll obviously have some probably evening shows for you this week. I might do a phone-in show this week, although the last one, I know we did it on tickets and atmosphere, and that wasn't particularly exciting, and not many people rung in for that. But we'll do something more maybe we'll do a Kai Havertz, something on Kai. Get your thoughts on what we should do as a phone-in topic. Maybe we'll do something on that. Maybe we could do an apology one. Like, I apologize for being so abusive towards Kai Havertz. Someone could ring in and maybe say that. That could be quite funny. I doubt people would phone in. People don't really like saying when they got something wrong. But thank you so much, guys and girls, for tuning in. Have a fantastic Monday and start to your weeks. I really appreciate your listenership, and welcome to all those that are new to the channel. It's great to see some new faces in there. And if you're listening on catch up on audio platforms as well, you are also appreciated. Do hop over to YouTube and support us with a like to our 1K every day target. See you soon. Stay safe, stay well, stay happy and respectful. And as always, up the Arsenal.